Okay. So today it's good seeing everyone. We're going to continue our discussion on the Vimalakirti Sutra on chapter 2 and 3. So before we begin, let us give ourselves a few moments to just focus our mind and just bring our awareness, attention to the present. So if you have your glasses, let us go ahead and remove them. If not, we can gently close our eyes if we feel comfortable with our eyes fully closed. If not, we can look downward 45 degrees in front of us. We can gently take in a few deep breaths. Just try to relax our physical body. Temporarily put aside whatever that we haven't finished. And just be aware and noting every breath that we take. And let us start with our meditation. Let us gently take in 3 deep breaths, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in again, breathing out. Let us gently wrap our palms together. Let's go ahead, cover our palms on our eyes, the top of our head, over our ears, the back of our neck. Let's wrap our palms together. Gently massage our shoulders, arms, all the way to our fingers and wrists. Okay. So, let us continue. Okay. So, today we're going to look into chapter 2 and 3, mainly focusing on the different ways, like skillful ways that Vimalakirti used in sharing the Dharma with different people, different occasions, different places. So, last week we kind of like give everyone a general idea about who is Vimalakirti, and then the connections, relationships between Vimalakirti with Sangha, especially the Buddha, and then the main focus and teachings of philosophy that were or main practices of Vimalakirti. And we know that Vimalakirti, even though he is a lay practitioner, but the wisdom, the skillful ways of sharing the Dharma is way beyond even like the disciples, the great disciples of the Buddha. Okay, so today we're going to continue to look into chapter 2 and 3. I know that the way that we have the 8 classes for this term is pretty fast. We try to cover the 14 chapters in the Vimalakirti Sutra, but it is just an introduction, and hopefully with that introduction, it will give you interest in learning more in depth in the practices that were shared by Vimalakirti. Okay, so the chapter 2 emphasizes the importance of skillful means or the expedient ways that Vimalakirti Bodhisattvas or Vimalakirti applying in daily life, adapting approaches to help those who come across in a very skillful way, and guiding whoever that he met towards enlightenment and seeing things beyond our usual way that focus on attaching to our certain views, certain way, habitually, and different ways that we frame ourselves in terms of how we perceive this world. And Vimalakirti, when he interacts with all the levels, all walks of life, he tried to engage them as according to what they need and the capacities of themselves. And of course, like starting chapter 3, we will slowly go into like Vimalakirti is just like a celebrity in the city where he everyone knows that he's not feeling well, and even that this sign of like this news that he shared that he wasn't feeling well, it is another skillful ways in sharing the Dharma. Today we're going to look into it step by step. But just a recap of like Vimalakirti, we know that he's a lay practitioner. Even though he lives in a mundane world, possesses wealth, status, and engaged in many things, but in many ways he goes beyond what we usually do as within the family or even like in a household for lay Buddhists. Okay, so in terms of the virtues of Vimalakirti, we know that for every one of us, when it comes to practicing compassion, what is the first thing that we think of? How are we going to practice compassion towards others? And of course, in everyday life, we thought about like, greeting each other when we see anyone that pass by, we smile at each other. And of course, that we give others joy, give others convenience, caring and supporting in many ways that we can for the society, for schools, hospitals, and different ways that we can show and practice compassion towards our families, our loved ones, our neighbors, even everyone that we come across at work, in a society. But how today we're looking at Vimalakirti. How did Vimalakirti show his compassion towards others? Okay, so this is a question that we bear in mind for now. We're going to look into it step by step. Okay, Vimalakirti, he has cultivated deep merits towards offering. Like we know that he, in his virtues, his practice over lifetime after lifetimes, he has been offering, making offerings towards countless Buddhas. And of course, through his lifetime after lifetime of practices, he has already realized the profound truth of birthless. And of course, he practices the 6 paramitas in his everyday life and go beyond different ways by using expedient means, skillful ways in sharing the Dhamma. And of course, he embodies the dignity of a Buddha. In the sutra, we know that Vimalakirti, in many ways, that he had the status of a Buddha fully enlightened and going beyond the mundane way as a lay practitioner. And he is actually very highly respected by all the disciples of the Buddha, including the heavenly beings and even other bodhisattvas. Okay, so remember the questions about what I asked. How did Vimalakirti shows compassion for others? Okay, we just remember that question first. Okay, as we go along the slides. Okay, so in chapter 2 is mainly learning and getting to know how Bodhisattvas here is referring to Vimalakirti, how he practices reaching out to whoever that he come across. He's always is just like Bodhisattvas in action. So I kind of like have a summary diagram here that we know that in many ways Vimalakirti tried to relieve the poor. He has wealth, so but then he didn't have the ego of being a wealthy person. Whoever that he come across that needs help was like he tries his best to relieve the poor by giving them what they need. And of course, the dana, the offerings that the sharing and giving that he practiced is without the idea of like a person giving and a person receiving and things that is given. So he has been practicing just like what I mentioned earlier, 6 paramitas in his daily life. So every day when he come across anyone that needs help, he practices giving paramitas, dana paramitas, the perfections of giving. And from time to time, he will go to casinos. Okay, even though the translation here I didn't use the word casino, but just try to use the word which is very common in today. Like even in San Diego, we have a few casinos here. Yeah, and of course Vimalakirti, he also goes to casino, not to gamble, but just to go there and talk to people who are gambling and try to bring light to those who indulge themselves in gambling, so that they will know the importance of not to gamble. Like so, he went there solely to bring enlightenment to those who indulge themselves day and night endlessly in gambling. Right. So he even go to places debating with others. Of course, when he come across doctrines of other religions, if he thinks that this is not right, he will voice out the Dharma, the right way, the right understanding about reality. Okay, he didn't allow them to impinge on the true faith. But when it comes to debate, he just wants to bring light and guide people towards the righteous way, right understanding about the truth, the reality of life. And of course, from time to time, he will be in a busy crossroads where he will meet with different people coming across here and there, talking to people, giving guidance to whoever that needs them. And then the different people that he come across. And Vimalakirti, of course, he tried to embrace and uphold the correct Dharma in giving guidance to whether it's like senior or young person, to guide them along the way. Because he is a lay Buddhist, so sometimes that when he talks to people, people feel connected in many ways because he's also a lay practitioner. He's also a lay Buddhist. Okay, so and when he's in a busy crossroads, he come across people. He try to bring benefit to his others. And when he went to government offices, he even go to courts of law, just to talk to people and share the Dhamma, and hopefully whatever that he shared in a skillful way that people understand what is the truth and eventually turn a new leaves or change themselves for better. Okay, so and then when you come across people of different religions, of course, today we talk about interfaith dialogue. It actually happened way before even like during the Buddha's time, the Buddha himself, whenever he come across anyone who wanted to debate with him, like ask him challenging questions, the Buddha being able to just raise another questions, eventually the person will see light to the truth. The same as Vimalakirti. Okay, so of course, not only he went to all the different places, he also went to bars, not to drink, is to talk to people, talking about the danger of intoxicant. And then he went to red light places, talking to them about how to care for own physical body, how to be respectful of each other's presence. Okay. So there are many skillful ways that Vimalakirti is able to talk to people and guide them to a better life. Okay, so in order to be in harmony with people, Vimalakirti he associated with the elders, even with those of middle age, the young, and yet always spoke in harmony with the Dharma. He engaged in all sorts of businesses. We know that he is a businessman, a very successful businessman, okay, have great wealth, but yet he had no interest in profit or possessions. Whatever that he owns is one of the tools to help more people. Okay, he was compatible with ordinary people because he appreciated the excellence of ordinary merits. Okay, he was honored as an Indra among the Indras, meaning that he was honored even among the heavenly beings. But they are able to listen to his dharma. Not only the Indras, but the Brahmas, even like different stages of different heavenly beings, or even the Bodhisattvas give him great respect, and he was honored by many of them. Okay, so whoever that he come across, even with a picture that was generated, via AI, it kind of like trying to share with us, like during 2,600 years ago, how he was able to talk to all walks of life, no matter how old they are, what they come across. He managed to share the teachings in a very skillful and expedient way. Okay, and of course the other diagram picture kind of like changed a little bit. I tried to find the same figure of Vimalakirti, but it pops out different ones. But earlier when I mentioned about how did Vimalakirti show compassion towards others, okay? So one of the ways that is also the main focus of this sutra is he showed illnesses, okay? Trying to give compassion by letting people know that he is not feeling well. So when the news of Vimalakirti is not feeling well, people like the kings, officials, the lords, the youth, areas, householders, businessmen, town folks, everyone, thousands of people come forth to this great city of Vaishali, and then just show their concern and care to the sick Vimalakirti. And of course, this illness, it is an expedient means, it is a skillful ways of asking people from all over to come and show care and concern for him. And when people are here, he took this opportunity to share with them the Dharma about the physical body, sharing about how the body is so impermanent, fragile, it's constantly changing in substantial, perishable, short-lived, and then it gives us pain, discomfort, but yet the body that we have give us opportunity to practice. But with that in mind, when we are overly attached to the permanent of the physical body, this is a good reminder that our physical body is part of dependent origination. Everything comes together. when there's the right causes and conditions, and they are constantly changing. When our eyes couldn't see well, when our ears no longer hear well, we know that sometimes it's really hard. But with this in mind, that we know that the body is so impermanent. And sometimes we don't realize it is because the changes is so minor that we don't notice it. But when, like for example, myself earlier when we were like doing our evening walk, and as I say, suddenly feel that my left knee is feeling a little bit discomfort, um, and a little bit pain. I was like, that is a sign of impermanence that I need to maybe do more stretches, but in a way that the physical body changes. It's a good reminder for ourselves to cherish whatever that we can do when we can. Okay, so the same goes with Vimalakirti. The way that he showed compassion towards others is by showing and letting people know that he's not feeling well. But it again, that is skillful ways when people are here. He shared with people about our body. It is constantly changing, and this also reminds me of like the body as a dream, a reflection, an echo, depending on so many different conditions. It's just like it reminds me of like the Platform Sutra by the Sixth Patriarch. That's a very famous and the most emphasized practice is the verse of all phenomena are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, shadows, dew, and lightning. It's constantly changing all the time. So the same goes to Vimalakirti. Vimalakirti is trying to let us know the body is inert, lack of ability or strength to move, or it is sometimes it's like inactive in some part of our body. And the body actually comprises of like the four great elements that we know. The earth element that comprises of the bones, something hard. Itself, it is selfless. Like sometimes like when we grow older, we some of us experience osteoporosis. When we accidentally fell down, we might break our bones. So the earth element is constantly changing. And the water element itself, we have to drink water. We have to have some enough fluids in our physical body to sustain our physical body, but it's constantly changing too. And like fire, we have our body heat, body temperature. If it's too low, we feel very cold. If it's too high, we might have fever. It's constantly changing too. And like the wind element is breathing, which is the essential. The moment that we cannot breathe is the moment that we are no longer here. So breathing is a matter of, our life is just a matter of a breath. Okay, the wind element is very important. Itself is also non-substantial, it's just like the space. Okay, it is just like a water bubble. It will not stay for long. It's like mirage, born from the appetites of passions. It's like the trunk of a plantain tree. When you remove it, it's just a cabbage. Leaf by leaf, when we remove it, we find nothing. It doesn't have a core. Okay, so physical body is conditioned in so many different ways. So these are the teachings that were given by Vimalakirti when people come and to see him. Okay, so again, the Buddha, when he talks about the changes of our physical body, Vimalakirti also mentioned about the Buddha body is the Dharma body. It's not referring to the physical body, but an enlightened person has what we call Dharma body, which is born from immeasurable merits and wisdom. It is born from by upholding precepts, just like the Buddha is in meditation, is constantly 24/7 within a meditative state, filled with wisdom, emancipation, and it is born from sympathy, compassion, and joy, and also the state of mind of being indifference. Okay, next week when we look into the teachings of non-duality, we're going to talk a little bit more about indifference. Okay, so but then again, just like the Buddha himself, 2,600 years ago when he had the last birth, last life, the Buddha, because he still have the physical body, and also based on the past karmic effect, the Buddha's experienced having headache, backache, based on the physical body. It's not referring to the Dhamma body or Dhammakaya in a way. So it is because when in the text, when we learn that the Buddha also have headache, when Devadatta pushed down the rock and then accidentally hurt the Buddha's toe, the Buddha also bleeds. It's because of the all phenomena, including the physical body, is subject to changes. Okay, but then the physical body, when we experience changes, the Buddha doesn't really experience, doesn't feel not physically attached to that body, because the Buddha knew, just like Vimalakirti, the Buddha knew that this is also part of dependent origination, and then the Buddha knows and knew that, okay, this is a sign of the changes in the physical body. So physically, there's like changes, but mentally, in the Buddha's mind, is not being entangled by the physical discomfort. And when it comes to physical illness, we also know that when Verbal Master Xing Yun, founder of Fu Guangsheng, when he was in the later years of his life, he had many physical illness. He had like brain surgery and whatever illnesses that his physical body is experienced. To him, he just look at it as if like it is just a physical inconvenience, that he won't be able to walk like before, he won't be able to talk like before, he won't be able to do things like before. It's just an inconvenience, that's all. And then he wasn't really physical entangled by the physical changes in a way. Okay, and another example is the first patriarch of the Pure Land School, Master Hui Yuan. Okay, so when towards his later days of his life, he actually also had like serious illnesses. Okay, where he took medication, but it wasn't helping. And one of the disciples told his master, Master Hui Yuan, saying that he should mix his medication with some wine, and that will help to heal his illness. And Master Hui Yuan asked his disciple, you go and check the Vinaya. Vinaya meaning the precepts, the book about the precepts. Okay, go and check the Vinaya and see there's such an exception. Okay, and when the disciples went to check, Master Hui Yuan has already moved on. Okay, so which means that as a monastic, as a monk or nun, the importance for us to know that the physical changes is part of the phenomena that is dependently originated. We should still uphold our precepts purely, okay, because we know what is the main, what is the truth of life. Okay, sometimes we will need to continuously practice or know that what is right and what is wrong in the physical body, and what we should do and what we shouldn't do. Okay, so this is just to add on to what the Vimalakirti is trying to emphasize, like the physical body, then the Dhamma body. Okay, so and then the next chapter, chapter 3, is Vimalakirti. When there are so many thousands of people come and visited him, and then when people left, he was like laying there and thinking in his mind. Okay, and especially just like ourselves, when we are sick, well, the first thing that we thought of is our family. Okay, no matter where we are, when we're not feeling well, the first thought is we just thought of our family. So the same goes to Vimalakirti. Okay, he was thinking, I'm laying here sick in bed. Why does the well-on-one, which is referring to the Buddha, in his great compassion, fail to show some concern for me? Okay, because when the news of Vimalakirti is not feeling well, okay, he haven't seen any sign of the disciples or even the Buddha himself come and share some concern about his health. Okay, and that is when we look at the Buddha asking his disciples to go and visit Vimalakirti. So on chapter 3, it is a chapter that we call it the disciples chapter, meaning that this is the Buddha start to think of, who should I send over to visit Vimalakirti? Okay, so of course, the Buddha thought about the 10 great disciples. Okay, so, and the first one that the Buddha thought about, Vimalakirti is someone who is very smart. And then how about I'll ask Sariputra? Sariputra is also known of great wisdom. Okay, so when asked Sariputra, okay, Sariputra was like saying that, Buddha, no, I won't be able to do that. Okay, so and then Buddha asked why, and Sariputra shared the incident encounterment between Sariputra and Vimalakirti. Sariputra was saying that, there was one time that I was sitting quietly under a tree, okay, and then trying to meditate, try to quiet down my mind, and here comes Vimalakirti, just walking by and just say, this is not true quiet sitting, okay, and then Sariputra said, huh? Yeah, so in the text that it further explains that how Vimalakirti is trying to let Sariputra knows that when we sit and meditate, it is not just making sure that we are sitting still and this is quiet sitting. This is not the way. Okay, so this also reminds me of like a Chan story that is during that Tang Dynasty. So there was a Chan master who saw the disciples has been sitting and meditating, not moving for a long time. Okay, so and this master was asking the disciples, "What are you doing? What are you trying to achieve by doing sitting in meditation?" Okay, and disciples replied, "I was trying to become a Buddha." Okay, and then the master didn't say anything. He just walked away and then come back with a tile, and then start using a rock to start polishing it, making noise, making sound because of the rubbing of the tile with the stone. Okay, and the disciples, at first, he was trying to sit still, focus on his meditation, and try to ignore. And then the master continued to rub and polish the tile. Okay, and then until the disciples couldn't stand anymore, he opened his mouth and asked his master, "Master, what are you doing? What are you trying to do by polishing and rubbing the tiles?" And the master said that, "Oh, I'm polishing this tile to make it into a mirror." And then the disciple was like, "What? How can polishing a tile can make into a mirror?" And then his master said, "Well, if polishing a tile will make it a mirror, how can sitting in meditation make you a Buddha?" Okay, so with this story, some of you might have come across because this is a very famous Chan story. The conversation between these two Chan master, this Chan master and the disciples, eventually even the disciples realized that by sitting, meditating only, one will not achieve Buddhahood. One will not realize enlightenment, right? So sitting meditation is one of the many practices for us to build up the foundation of mindfulness and try to focus our mind. But that is not the only one way. And that is not only one practice can lead to enlightenment. We still need to practice compassion, loving kindness, empathy, equanimity. We also need to practice the 6 paramitas, the 6 perfections in our everyday life, reaching out to people who are in need. Eventually, slowly and gradually, that we reduce the attachment towards others, attachment to ourselves, attachment to dharmas. Only then one can really see the truth. One can really realize enlightenment. So right here, Vimalakirti say to Sariputra, you should absorb yourself in contemplation in such a way that you can manifest all ordinary behavior without forsaking cessation, meaning that sitting meditation or cultivating meditative cultivation or concentration is not only when we are sitting and meditating, it has to expand and manifest, and it has to continue on in every ordinary things that we do every single day, every moment. Okay, it's constantly like the word absorb that we're used in this translation is concentration, is like focus. Being aware of whatever that is happening around us, being aware of how our mind, the words, and our actions, the 3 karmas that we generate every single moment, is constantly in the meditative state, just like the Buddha. Only then this is what we call meditation in a way. Okay, so that's why Sariputra declined to the Buddha in visiting Vimalakirti. And of course, in this chapter, there are all 10 disciples that the disciples decline and reluctant to visit Vimalakirti. With Sariputra is a reminder that from Vimalakirti to Sariputra is not to attach only on the sitting posture alone, but is a way for us to understand sitting meditation is one of the foundation, practicing meditative concentration, but that is not one and only way. Okay, and most importantly is how we expand and continue our meditation in our everyday tasks, everyday activities. Okay, so the next one is the one that I would like to emphasize or share with you is one of the great disciples that is known for giving out very good instructions in sharing the Dhamma is Mahakatyayana. Okay, so and when the Buddha asked the disciples to go and visit Vimalakirti, to his surprise that Mahakatyayana also declined. It was because there was one occasion when he was giving brief instructions to the monks on the meaning about impermanence, about suffering, about selflessness and peace. Vimalakirti came across, and after listening to what he was sharing, he mentioned that Vimalakirti emphasized that nothing was ever destroyed, is destroyed, or will ever be destroyed. This is the true meaning of impermanence. Okay, and then the meaning of realization of birthlessness is true the realization of the voidness of the 5 aggregates. Okay, and this is the meaning of suffering. Okay, the fact that non-duality of self and selflessness is the meaning of selflessness. Okay, so itself that when we try to understand impermanence, usually in plain language, we try to say that everything changes, but still, that is one way for us to understand impermanence. What Vimalakirti is trying to point out is for us to truly understand and realize the meaning of impermanence, okay, is knowing that everything is constantly changing, and there's nothing that is destroyed or is being destroyed or even ever being destroyed. It's just like the formation or the changes of the energy. Energy is constantly changing. It cannot be destroyed, but it's ever changing in a way. Okay, so Mahakatyayana declined, and because what Vimalakirti is trying to let him understand, and even all the monks understand, is the idea about non-duality of the self and selflessness. If we were to attach to the idea of self, it is also attachment. If we were to attach to the idea of selflessness, we are attached to the idea of void or empty. Okay, so when it comes to non-duality, is truly understand the meaning of both and go beyond that. And another disciples that I would like to point out here is someone, one of the great disciples that is known of great vision, okay, divine eye, okay. So, and when he was being asked, what can you see? Okay, so Aniruddha, okay, shared with everyone, all the Brahmins, 10,000s of Brahmins, okay, Aniruddha said that I can see this whole 1,000,000,000-fold wall within my hand. The Buddha land of Shakyamuni, as though I was peering down at a myrobalan fruit in the palm of my hand. So myrobalan fruit, I tried to look up what fruit is it. It's like small, round. It's a type of plum, but exactly during that time, how does it look like? I'm not so sure. But today, if you try to search online for a picture or an image, it is a plum family. Okay. So, but then the main focus of like mentioning Aniruddha is when he was mentioning that he can see this whole 1,000,000,000-fold wall of the Buddha land Shakyamuni. Is just like peering down, just like looking at the fruit that is in his hand. Okay, and then when Vimalakirti heard about it, he asked Aniruddha, is your divine eye compounded in nature, or is it uncompounded in nature? If it is compounded in nature, it is the same as the superknowledges of the heterodox. Okay, it is still within duality. If it is uncompounded in nature, then it is not constructed, and as such is incapable of seeing. Okay? If it's uncompounded, you won't be able to see anything because there's no eye. Okay, then so Vimalakirti asked Aniruddha, how do you see, O elder? Okay, and that is a moment when Aniruddha couldn't answer Vimalakirti's question about his divine eye, whether it is compounded or uncompounded in nature. And then Vimalakirti then said, in the world, it is the Buddhas who have divine eye. They see all the Buddha wool, Buddha rams, or Buddha fields without even leaving the state of concentration and without being affected by duality. Okay, so what Vimalakirti is trying to emphasize here, point out here, is Aniruddha, the disciples of the Buddha, when he cultivated until a certain level of meditative concentration, he has the divine eye to see the 1,000,000,000-fold wall beyond this wall. It's because he has this supernatural power of having divine eye. But this is just uh, um, one process when one experience in the practice. But for enlightened ones, like all the Buddhas, when one realizes enlightenment, of course, one will also have divine eye. But this divine eye is because all the Buddhas, all the enlightened ones, their mind is always in the state of concentration. So if a person, an enlightened one, the mind is constantly within meditative concentration, one not only have divine eye, one would have divine ears, divine sight, divine mind, everything is without boundaries. It's because enlightened one has already gone beyond duality, beyond the idea of having something and not having something. Okay. So at this point, Aniruddha only then understood that the divine eye that he has is still within the mundane world. It is still constrained by his ability to see. Okay? It's not because that his mind is constantly within the meditative concentration. Okay, so the next one, I just quickly mention a little bit is Upali. The Buddha asked Upali whether he would like to visit Vimalakirti or not. And of course, Upali declined because there was one occasion that when there was two monks who violated the rules of conduct as a monk, they went to, instead of going to the Buddha, they went to Upali, because Upali is known of the disciples that known of very good in upholding pure precepts. So the two monks went to Upali and asked, saying that we have violated the precepts and truly ashamed of what we have done. We do not dare to ask the Buddha what to do. But Elder Upali, please free us from our doubts and remorse and tell us how we can excuse from blame, explain them, how one can go about gaining pardon by true repentance. Okay, so what Upali mentioned that is try to share with them the upholding the precepts. And then, of course, when Vimalakirti knew about it, he said, Upali, if one gains emancipation from delusion through an understanding of the nature of the mind, does any defilement remain? Okay, so the absence of self is the intrinsic nature of the mind. Okay, in the same way that all living beings gains an understanding about the nature of the mind, and there's no defilements that exist. The same true goes to the precepts. Okay, the precepts is one of the skillful ways for the Buddha to let all monks, all disciples to know that when we uphold the precepts is to foster our mind to constantly be respectful towards others, not to hurt or go beyond the boundaries and of others. Okay, so when we uphold the precepts, we know that it is because of the main focus of respecting each other. Okay, space, the things that you have, and is try to create a harmonious environment, a harmonious community. So that's why the Buddha laid down the precepts. So if a person were to break the rules or break the precepts, one has to realize what is wrong and vow not to repeat again. It's just like the repentance that we do every day or every time when we have the services, or even like when you visit a temple, you talk to the Buddha. The Buddha is a representation of a teacher in front of us. It's a reminder of the teachings, the precepts, and everything. When we talk to the Buddha, we are actually talking to ourselves. When we do repentance, is not asking the Buddha for forgiveness, but we have to ask ourselves for forgiveness so that we can vow not to repeat again. So that is the main purpose of repentance. This is the main purpose of upholding the precepts. Upholding the precepts is not the idea of breaking it or upholding it. It's just a nature for us to constantly remind ourselves to be respectful and to be mindful of what we think, what we say, and what we do. Okay. And because of the time, I won't be able to go to the other one, who is Ananda. Okay. So you'll be able to read more in the text. Okay. So, and when the Buddha, in the text, the sutra, it mentioned about the 10 great disciples all declined, unwilling to visit Vimalakirti because they knew that they won't be able to, you know, when Vimalakirti asks a question, they might not be able to answer, okay? Won't be able to understand and go beyond the wisdom of Vimalakirti, or not to say the practices of Vimalakirti. So not only the 10 great disciples, the Buddha asked 500 disciples. They are all reluctant to go to see Vimalakirti. And then each and every one of them share with the Buddha how they being encountered with Vimalakirti and the practices that they learned from Vimalakirti's encounterments. Okay, so with that, let us conclude chapter 2 and 3. Okay, we know that Vimalakirti used skillful. Vimalakirti used sickness as a tool to share the Dhamma. So that's why I mentioned that this is one of the ways, one of the main focus of the Vimalakirti showing compassion towards others is by showing himself being ill. And with that, he had the opportunity to share the teachings about the impermanence of the physical body and how to go beyond this physical body to the Dhamma body. Okay, so of course, we also learn that with each refusal of the Buddha's disciples, we actually learn deeper the teachings that were given, that were shared by Vimalakirti with different situation, different occasion. Vimalakirti points out very skillfully, and it's a gentle reminder in our practice, just like the first one, Sariputta. Sometimes we might attach to like sitting meditation, but we know that sitting meditation is also crucial in building up the foundation of mindfulness or meditative concentration. But if we were to be too attached to the sitting posture itself and have forgotten the purpose of why we do sitting meditation, Vimalakirti's point of meditative concentration is going into every ordinary activities that we do every single day. This is meditative absorption. This is meditative concentrations. Okay, so only then, slowly and gradually, we can be mindful at all times. Okay, and then when we are being mindful at all times, we won't be continuously generating negative karma. We can stop and change here and continue to improve ourselves onwards, step by step. Okay, so this concludes our discussion, like chapter 2 and 3. And then next week, we're going to look at chapter 4 and 5, mainly focusing on the teachings of non-duality. So, okay, we have a few more minutes. Anyone has any questions or anything that you would like to share, point out? Am I going too fast or too slow or good? Yeah, I know that sometimes when we read it once, the Vimalakirti Sutra, we might still have questions. Well, it's normal. It's part of process. But we can read it again and again, and we just try to understand the meaning behind the message behind the teachings itself. Okay, and then even next week when we talk about non-duality, okay, we are so used to big and small, right and wrong, left and right, to give us the idea of time and space, which is what we lived in, the world that we lived in today. But through the practice of non-duality, it helps us sometimes take a step back and try to look at the whole picture, okay? Instead of like going into the corner, especially when we just try to find solution, find ways. Sometimes we are going forward and forward into a tighter and tighter corner. And sometimes we just need to take one step back and turn around. Maybe we might be able to see a different perspective, different things. You never know. Okay, so especially when our mind is so stressed out, when our physical body might be so tight, sometimes we have to give ourselves a moment to just take a few deep breaths and just relax and just take a step back and just try to see everything, the whole picture. Okay, so anything that everyone would like to share or comments? Yes, no? Wow. Okay. And if not, let us do dedication of merits to conclude. Okay, so let us all join our palms. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great vows. So I hope that everyone learned and benefited from the teachings from the Vimalakirti Sutra. And then I will see you next week. And if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to share via email, or you can leave the message in the chat box. Okay, so thank you and have a great week and good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Venerable.